Now, the Nigerian equities market is starting the week with a bullish sentiment. However, analysts expect the market to trade mixed as investors gradually return back to the market. Rotimi Fakayejo, capital market analyst, joins me now for more updates. Rotimi, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today.
Good afternoon.
Well, we've seen the market, of course, start the week on a bullish note. And I've spoken to a couple of analysts to ask them about their forecast for the year. They're expecting another positive run this year. But let's talk about Q1. What are the stocks on your radar? And what do you imagine will be the 2022 strategy for investors? In your opinion, last year we saw a focus on strong fundamentals.
Well, I think for what we saw in 2022 is quite an amazing year for the equity market. And with the way the market has started this year is quite a very good note. For the transactions today, I think moving the market actually upward is Airtel Africa, which has significantly upgraded the position of the market relative to what it was last week, Friday. And I think basically for this year, we're going to see a lot of fundamental postures, which is going to be the main ambit for investors' decision in terms of what stock to buy, what stock to hold, and which one to let go. And I think basically in that wise as well, the extent to which each company pays dividend, that is the dividend yield, is quite another strong factor that is going to play out. And we have seen basically that the banking sector stocks still remain the toast of investors in terms of dividend yield and in every capacity that you want to look at it, in terms of liquidity and also in terms of retention of value over time. So for me, I still believe that the banking sector stocks will still hold sway for investors, and at the same time, too, maybe stocks in the telecom because of price appreciation, that is capital gains. I think that also will go a long way. Then we may also look at the agricultural sector, that is Okumu Oil and Presco. I believe they're going to really pull out an amazing result, and it's going to definitely be much better for investors in terms of dividend yield.
I think it's safe to say that, the telecom sector did steal the show last year. I'm just looking at some results for MTN last year. The company had a great 2022. Earnings hit a record high of 1.4 trillion for the 9-month period. Of course, we had the 5G license, also Airtel also. And it would appear that, well, at least for those analysts I've spoken to, they have MTN, Airtel high on their stock list this year. But of course, I know that the banks, still being one of the most liquid sectors in the market, will still remain investors' favorite. But talk to us about EPS, earnings per share. What can we expect from the likes of MTN, Airtel this year, and even the banking sector?
Well, the earnings per share, I think will still not be as robust as what we have in the banking sector. It may not really be as robust. But for the fact that value retention is quite an important factor to consider in investment. And I think for the telecoms, they really, really pull that as a very good one. And I think they may be able to do much better EPS and dividend paid out than what they did last year. And maybe reflecting on the banking sector again, at least for most of them that are listed on the equity market, I think they may be able to at least do minimum of 10% dividend yield, and I think that definitely will be a good attraction for investors.
Now, still on the banks, two of the banks that I think stood out last year, and they were tier 2, I believe FCMB and particularly Fidelity, in terms of course, their loan book growth for Fidelity and overall earnings. What are your expectations for these particular two banks or tier 2 banks in general this year?
Well, I think we've seen that evidently in their pricing and how investors have reacted to those stocks. I still want to believe that they'll still be able to maintain the pace which they kept last year. And I think this will also rub out on what they pay out to investors as well. So I still see an upward movement for the stocks. for the two stocks particularly, and also maybe for a few other ones in the sector.
Are you taking into account the fact that, I mean, we're still in an election cycle? We're going to have a new president sworn in. We know that usually around that time, there's usually somewhat of a dry spell at the market. You know, investors still waiting for direction, economic policy, a direction, etc., from the new government. What are you expecting?
Well, I think for this quarter and next quarter, it's going to be a very, very tough one for investors to actually make viable decisions. Like in the first run of the quarter, that is this very first month, before the elections, electionary actually take the very, very serious pace that we are expecting. I think stocks will still move upward in anticipation of their results. But when we get close to the days of the election, I think there might be some retraction in the market until the result comes out proper. And I think that also will stay on its own. Then when eventually in the second quarter, whoever emerges as the president, as the president of Nigeria for the next 4 years, if it is somebody that is expected that will run the economy and make it better than what we are seeing, then definitely onward from that time, we're going to see a very, very good